Right now, 90 million people around the world are in a relationship with an artificial intelligence, and nearly half of American men under 35 have already tried one. You've seen the headline, a 1999 female humanoid robot replacing girlfriends everywhere. And like most things that go viral, it's half true and half lie. And the half that's true is stranger than the half that isn't. The money is real. The market for AI companions was worth $2.1 billion in 2023, and it's projected to hit $15.4 billion by 2030, growing better than 30% a year. Google alone paid $2.7 billion just to license the technology behind one of these chatbots. I'm not here to sell you a robot, and I'm not here to tell you the world's ending. I analyze the data so you can decide for yourself. So today, we test two words in that headline, one at a time. First, everywhere. Is that real? Then, humanoid. What does 1999 actually buy? And what the answer reveals is more unsettling than any robot. Start with why the door was open. As of 2025, 42% of American adults have no partner. And it's not all bad luck. Half of single men and nearly 2/3 of single women say they're not even looking. The reason is burnout. 78% of dating app users report being emotionally exhausted by it. The endless swiping, the average 51 minutes a day, the 310 hours a year, the 40% who get ghosted, the constant low-grade rejection. Among American men under 35, 1 in 4 now say they feel lonely a lot of the time. Into that vacuum walked the software, and this is where everywhere stops being hype. One companion app has 45 million people using it every month. Another has 25 million users sending over 1 billion messages a month. Add them up, and roughly 90 million people worldwide are actively talking to an AI companion. 45% of American men aged 18 to 34 say they've tried an AI girlfriend. The average user is 28. And here's the tell. Among the people who use them, traditional dating app use drops 18%. This is not an American story. The UK leads Europe, Chile and Uruguay lead South America. Australia and New Zealand dominate the Pacific. Even Mauritius and South Africa post some of the highest rates on their continent. And Japan is the vanguard. 1/3 of that market reaches for an AI companion every single day. So yes, everywhere is real. But notice what everywhere actually means, because not one of those 90 million people is holding a robot. Which brings us to the second word, humanoid. Here's the truth the headline is selling you past. For somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000, you do not get a walking, autonomous humanoid. You get a heavy, human-shaped mannequin, a steel skeleton, a foam core, a skin of silicone or TPE, posable by hand, and only by hand. The head turns 30 degrees, the waist 30, the elbows bend within a fixed range, and if you push a joint past its limit, it breaks. It has a heater to feel warm, which the manual tells you to switch off before any real use, a microphone and a speaker. It cannot walk. It cannot move its own arm. It cannot even stand up without a stand. A real humanoid exists. The most credible one walks at 3 miles an hour, has fully dexterous hands, and can lift 150 pounds. It also costs $20,000, and even at that price, at launch, it runs at 60 to 70% autonomy. The rest of the time, a human in another room is quietly piloting it through a headset. So the 1999 robot isn't a robot in any meaningful sense. It's a silicone body with a phone's worth of software talking through its mouth. The intelligence was never in the room. It was always in the cloud, and that software is the entire product. A language model with persistent memory, so it remembers your day, your job, the fight you mentioned last week, and brings it back up like a partner would. It's available every hour, never tired, never busy, and it never ever rejects you. You set the personality, you set the rules. For someone the dating market has chewed up, that control is the whole appeal. The numbers show how deep it goes. People who use these spend about 2 hours a day talking to them. 42% say the AI is easier to talk to than a real person. And the apps make their money on exactly that feeling. $300 million in purchases in a single year, converting 1/4 of users into paying subscribers. It learns your rhythm and mirrors it back until it feels like the most understanding partner you've ever had. No compromise, no scheduling, No bad days that aren't yours. Which is the point. And also, the problem. Because your brain can't tell the difference. 20 years ago, a UCLA scientist named Naomi Eisenberger showed that social rejection lights up the same part of the brain as physical injury. Being frozen out doesn't feel like pain. It is pain, neurologically. So, retreating from a market full of rejection towards something that can't reject you isn't weakness. It's your nervous system doing exactly what it evolved to do. Then, in 2026, Stanford researchers tested 11 leading AI models and found they affirmed the user's choices about 50% more than another human would, even when the user is clearly wrong. A single conversation made people less willing to repair a real-world conflict and more certain they were right. And they loved it. They rated the flattering machine as higher quality and trusted it more than honest advice. It never tells you no. You prefer that it never tells you no, and you cannot feel it happening. So here's the part the headline skips. You own the body. You don't own the relationship. The personality lives on a corporate server, and it can be changed, paywalled, or switched off without your say. Privacy researchers rank these among the worst products they've ever reviewed. One popular companion harvests 11 categories of personal data and uses your most intimate conversations to train its next model. One was fined by an entire country's regulator. Others have leaked users' private confessions and even passwords onto the open internet. And then the clinical reality. A study of over 1,000 users found that the more emotionally you lean on the AI, the lower your overall well-being. A controlled trial of nearly 1,000 people, analyzing more than 300,000 messages, found that light use eased loneliness, but heavy daily use did the opposite, increasing loneliness, dependence, and withdrawal from real people, with older users the most likely to get hooked. Oxford researchers describe a feedback loop where the machine, built to agree, validates a person's worst distortions until the two of them drift away from reality together. The thing sold as the cure for loneliness for heavy users quietly becomes its engine, and the capital does not care. The same Chinese factories that make 80% of the world's companion products are scaling up fast, and the cost of building a true humanoid fell 40% in a single year, from $250,000 toward $30,000. Goldman Sachs expects more than 1 million humanoid units a year shipping by the mid-2030s. For now, only about 16,000 exist on Earth, most of them in Chinese factories, not bedrooms. But the software is already in 90 million hands, and the hardware is racing to catch up. The two halves are converging. It's only a matter of when. And people are already all the way in. In the Bronx, Rosanna Ramos, a domestic violence survivor, built an AI partner named Aaron and says the draw was simple. He never judged her, never argued, never told her she wasn't allowed to feel something. In Michigan, a man who goes by Dave Cat has lived with a synthetic partner named Sidor since the year 2000. When the silicone wore out, he paid $6,500 to have her remade. And in Japan, Akihiko Kondo spent more than $17,000 on a formal wedding to a holographic pop star. 3 different people, 3 different machines, and the same thing each of them said they were escaping: the friction of another human being, which is the whole fight. And there are serious people on both sides. One side argues harm reduction. David Levy, who's written on this for years, says companion robots could lower the demand that drives prostitution and even assault, and could give people locked out of the dating market, the disabled, the socially anxious, the men in countries with tens of millions more men than women, a comfort they'd otherwise never have. Withhold it on principle, the argument goes, and you're punishing the loneliest people alive. The other side says that's the trap. Kathleen Richardson, who runs a campaign against these products, argues that a partner engineered to obey trains you to care only about yourself, that it turns intimacy into a purchase and a woman into a thing you own. Normalize that, critics warn, and you don't cure male loneliness. You deepen the entitlement that helped cause it. Both can be true at once. That's what makes it hard. The sociologist Sherry Turkle saw the shape of this years ago. Technology, she warned, is seductive exactly when it meets our vulnerabilities. And we are vulnerable indeed, lonely, but afraid of intimacy. The sociable machine offers the illusion of companionship without the demands of friendship. That's the real answer to the headline. Are female robots replacing girlfriends everywhere? Everywhere, yes, but not the way the thumbnail promised. It isn't happening through a walking robot in your living room. It's happening through the glass of the phone already in your hand. So you tell me. One word in the comments. Is this already everywhere and unstoppable? Or is the robot part still just hype? Type everywhere or type hype. I read them. And next time, we stop counting how many people use these machines and ask the harder question, the one the makers really want you to believe. Are they actually better than a real wife? We put it on trial. That's next.